Hello, my fellow hunters. How are you liking Lunastra? You know, aside from the... Personally, I think she's pretty top-notch. She is an entirely different beast from a previous incarnation with a beautiful kaleidoscope of colorful carnage that you just want to get stuck right into. I am in love with this fight. Alright, so, new monster, which means new interactions, new mechanics, new fun stuff. Now, Lunastra as an Elder Dragon doesn't have a lot to work with, but surprisingly, she's bringing some neat stuff to the table. Obviously, we have to immediately talk about the star of the show, her good old bonding session with Teostra. It's an incredibly rare event for a Emperor and Empress of Flame to hold court. Normally, hatred brews between them, but ever so rarely, the need of all animals to continue their genus takes over, and they must see and deem each other worthy. The beautiful dance that they engage in to test the metal, the flame of their potential mate, is both terrifying and gorgeous to behold, leaving all but them burnt to a cinder, indiscriminately laying waste and converting the lands to ash. Each test the other if they are worthy of continuing the royal bloodline. And that is how baby Teostra is formed. In all seriousness then, this is quite a rare event, at least in my testing. It takes a lot of coercion to get these two in the mood. It happens very much like a turf war. When it does happen, they don't seem to try and aim it at the hunters specifically, they just sort of go for it, which really does enforce that it is a proper ritual for them. They're not using it as an attack, which is someone super into the lore. This is an incredibly rare event, and we're having it wrought in Monster Hunter World's fidelity in front of us. I am so over the moon chuffed that we get to see this bonding. And look, mechanically, it's both their supernovas going off at once. Teostra immediately leaves after his part, because I guess he's got what he wanted, right? He's took it out, so he's going to have a kip. But Lunastra continues with the second half of hers and then keeps fighting. It's not that bad if you're in a big zone, but if you're in a small one, yeah, you want to get out of dodge real quick. It's quite literally the most powerful attack in the game now. Who's looking forward to Tempered Teo plus Luna as like a special Tempered Joe equivalent hunt? I know I am! But what I love most about this is the possibilities it opens. This is the first time we have had mechanical, undeniable, they are working together in tandem to do a thing as monsters. So in the future, this opens doors to who knows what. There are plenty of monsters that do, whether willingly or begrudgingly, cooperate, and if we start to see bonds being implemented in a grander scale on top of turf wars, well, that just adds to a much more diverse, just badass experience, does it not? I'd love to know your thoughts on what ones you'd like to see go down. Enough rambling then, let's move on to her little patches of fire. These things are quite wonderful. They're almost her unique thing, right? Ever burning napalm-like splodges on the ground. Now, when they get hit by her fire, they almost double in size. And the thing is, you can trigger that effect by hitting them, whether deliberately or accidentally, with a fire element weapon. Not with blast, but with fire, and that is a really neat little extra bit. It adds flavor, right? So, this one is kind of ridiculous. If a fire patch has been enlarged by another source of fire, and you try and fire bowgun ammo or an arrow through it, it will bounce off as if it was a physical wall. You can see them being repelled as they try and enter the flames. This happened with every bow element I tried, with every bowgun ammo I tried. It seems a random fuck you to ranged players, but it is pretty damn cool, right? A monster erecting what amounts to a physical wall shielding herself from ranged weaponry. Hot! Literally. Damn! Similarly, if you hit these patches with a water weapon, you will put them out. You can properly be a firefighter now in Monster Hunter, so you got that going for you. I do like, by the way, that this is such an indirect buff to the water element, because it's not the most useful thing in the world, and the water monsters are, a bit shit. But it's kind of nice that we're seeing a non-numeric buff to something, just the ability to nullify one of a monster's moves because of the element on your weapon. As far as I'm aware, this is the first time there has been such a direct element working against mechanic just going, which once more opens up some serious possibilities for some cool interactions in the future. Monsters that you can really counter in a big way by bringing the right element. Maybe they'll even be resistant to that element, but the move that they do gets absorbed for it. Like, imagine a huge glob of fire being flung at you, and you draw attack your greatsword in time to cut through it with water element. Hell, if it was potent and difficult enough, that might suddenly make you think about bringing an elemental greatsword. Okay, fine, but it's a step in the right direction, and that is something I'm totally chuffed with. But by far and away, the coolest interaction with these fire patches is when Kushala Daora is involved. Oh, you don't need to be... Oh! No! His tornado then is ground sensitive. It will pick up the substance underneath it, and when that is Lunastra's blue or purple fire, I'm sick of arguing about this. I shouldn't have brought it up just now. Oh, what have I done? It will turn the tornado into just magnificence. It looks gorgeous. But a further really neat thing is crystal bursts. What you can do with a crystal burst is, well, essentially pop the tornado. You see, they will put out Lunastra's blue fire, which means you can fire them at the patches on the ground, they'll get put out, but you can just disable a blue fire tornado. Granted, that's pretty damn niche, right? But I'm a big fan of it. I also had this where I was convinced that if Lunastra flamethrows Teostra, it ignites the powder in his main and makes him blow up, but I've since come to the understanding that's just part of her flamethrower attack. It just goes up at the end, which was really sad because I thought that was quite the badass little interaction there. But yeah, she is really bringing genuinely fair amount of new mechanics and new ways to interact with a fight, even if they're not super common. So, Turf Wars then, one with Nergigante, and this one is changed just a little bit from the equivalent with Teostra. It will go down pretty much the same way, they'll have a good scrap, however Lunastra, being distinctly stronger than Teostra, fights back just that bit better, and essentially supernovas upon being decked by Nergi. Now, they do damage each other, Nergi still distinctly wins, but Nergi is, like, really hurt. He is scarred, skin torn, flesh ripped. You can see it all over him. He immediately grows all his spikes back afterwards, but yeah, how fantastic is that? Then we have one with Kushala Daora, which is essentially the same one as Teostra does. No, they're actually resolutely ignoring each other. The game decided to tell me that the floor is an Elder Dragon. So they fly around, have a fight in the sky. It looks really quite pretty. And after one of them wins, at least I think one of them wins, one of them will always do more damage to the other, and whoever does the least damage will kind of retreat, and the winner will give quite the howl of, yeah, I did it. I mean, just listen to Kushala. Other than that, then, there's not really a huge amount she's bringing to the table. As an Elder Dragon, obviously it's hard to give her loads of interactions, but I feel like they really have brought some cool stuff to the table and really thought about what it is that she can and should be doing. She seems to be just that step above the Teostra, Kushala, more than likely Val band. Not quite Nergi level, at least food chain wise, though definitely fight wise. I imagine that Tempered Lunastra really would give Joe a run for his money as the the hardest monster in the game. Now, I did test Heat Guard, the skill from the Shamos chest that blocks fire damage, that lets you stand on lava without taking damage, but Lunastra still overpowers it and melts your health with her big attack, which is kinda sad. Though, MVP goes to Astera Jerky. It just heals back all the huge swaths of red that are being generated in your health bar, which is a really nice way of countering this. Then finally, to cap this off, I did have a little experiment with the Temporal Mantle, the new one, glimmering gold. Kulv would be proud. It's really quite good, but I can definitely confirm it's legitimately not broken. So when you take an attack, you will instead, even mid-animation, no matter what you're doing, this will take priority, jump to the head of the queue, make you do a very much weapon art from the old games like dodge, not taking any damage and moving through the move, which sounds really quite broken for a mental duration, but the thing is, it takes precedence, right? Which means doing damage while taking hits isn't possible. So if you're using this to try and counter being bodied by a monster, you're going to survive, but you're not going to get any closer to killing it. I doubt this is going to get a lot of use in speedruns. Well, there's a few little niche uses, but it's certainly, I guess, at the full stop, the bottom line here, not anywhere near as good for just pure brute forcing a monster as Rocksteady, and as long as it's not more broken than Rocksteady, well, then you're at least fine. But it is a lot of fun. It's really cool to just your way through attacks. It's very, very Matrix-like, I think, and I enjoy it a lot. I think it's a really decent addition to the game. So there you go, guys. A little bit of an investigation into Lunastra, everything that she can do, the monster-wise, and the new mechanics she brings. I am having a lot of fun with her. I wish you luck on your gem farming. I kind of got 2 on my first 2 hunts, so I'm a little bit of a lucky bastard. I can only assume a piano is going to fall on my head tomorrow, but on that note, that quality, absolutely quality. Thanks for watching. Like you enjoyed this, subscribe for more. My name's been Josh. I will see you soon. Pro and Noob coming. I have got one hell of, well, you know the usual when an Elder Dragon gets introduced, but just you hold out for that. A goodbye. Rage Gaming with the video flow. But that's all that's really relevant at the mo, but I'm still gonna leave this up so you patrons know that I love you even though the outro's no longer that kind of relevant. But the new one's being worked on and it's gonna be a truly badass song, and don't worry, I won't be doing any rapping on it. I'm gonna go now. This was shit.